Good morning, Nerdfighteria. Symph here. Last time, I gave you a mad dash crash course of the instruments of the orchestra, but those were just the common instruments. Today I'm going to show you 5 orchestral instruments you've probably never heard of. Now, some of these instruments are just used less often, while others are historical instruments which have been superseded by something else. You'll also notice throughout the list that these instruments tend to lean on the lower side than on the higher side. Let's begin. Instrument 1, the ophicleide. This strange-looking brass instrument came in a number of sizes, but the bass size was the one that got mostly used. In the early 19th century, composers started to expand their brass section to include trombones and wanted to have a bass brass instrument that could support and complement them. The only available instrument at that time was the serpent, which is an archaic instrument made of wood with a metal mouthpiece. The serpent was really hard to play on account of its woodwind-like finger holes, cumbersome due to its weight and size, it was made of wood, and did not have good intonation or a wide range. The serpent was eventually replaced by the ophicleide and was used in 19th century scores as the low brass voice along with the bass trombone, especially in France. Ophicleide actually means serpent with keys, a reference to that earlier instrument. Unfortunately for it, the ophicleide did not have a very deep range, and was eventually replaced by the tuba that we know today. Ophicleides these days are mostly used in orchestras specializing in historical performance, so there's a good chance you've never heard of it, much less seen one. Instrument 2, the A-flat clarinet. The clarinet family is huge, which means there are some rare members hiding in its ranks. This one, the clarinet in A-flat, is the highest pitch member of the family. This one is rare for a couple of reasons. One, there aren't too many of them around, and two, they don't really help serve a musical purpose. This clarinet has a slightly larger sibling, the clarinet in E-flat, which is used much more to expand the clarinet's sound into a higher register, and the E-flat is already considered quite shrill and brittle in sound. Having this even smaller E-flat instrument doesn't add anything of value to the overall orchestral sound, so it's mostly unused. Instrument 3, contrabass trombone and cimbasso. We return again to the low brass to talk about 2 of my favorite instruments in that section, the contrabass trombone and the cimbasso. I'm lumping both of these together because they effectively do the same thing. These instruments push the trombone sound all the way down to the range of the tuba. What I mean by that is this. The tuba has a very round, warm, omnidirectional sound, while the trombones have a much more focused, bitey, and growly sound. The reasons behind this are too complicated for me to cover in this video, but suffice it to say, I do not think that the tuba blends very well with the trombones. I'm not alone. In 19th century Italy, the tuba was not popular, with composers such as Verdi and Puccini preferring to write for the cimbasso, which they called the bass trombone instead. Meanwhile, in Germany, Richard Wagner spearheaded the creation of a true monster. No, I don't mean his truly horrific political views, I mean the contrabass trombone in B-flat. This thing is massive. If all of his tubing was stretched out, it would be a whopping 18 feet or 5.48 meters long. It features a double slide and is very heavy from what I understand. I have never seen one. Wagner used it in his only logical application, the true growling bass of the trombone section in his ring cycle. Because of how difficult the B-flat contrabass trombone is to play, it is not really used anymore. These days, when called for, the contrabass trombone is technically a smaller instrument in F with a couple of triggers to help it get to the lowest notes. This does away with the double slide, but makes the instrument quite long. The cimbasso is also an instrument in F with exactly the same range, but it is a valved instrument, which greatly increases the agility. Both of these are rare for the simple fact that there isn't a whole lot of music for them, and that they are hard to play. The cimbasso is, however, used in film and video game music because of its growly timbre. Both require a lot of air to play. That said, the sound they make is awesome, in my opinion, and I know I'll be composing more music for them in the near future. That's it for this doubleheader, on to the next one. Instrument 4, the bass flute. You all know what a flute looks like, right? Now imagine a flute that is doubled in size. I don't mean it's been left in water overnight like one of those grow a lizard novelty toys. I mean a flute designed to sound a full octave lower than the standard flute. While its range is more like that of a tenor singer, we call this instrument the bass flute. This instrument is actually pretty common these days as a solo instrument, in flute choirs, and in film and television music, all of which can take advantage of its haunting, slow-moving sound. But in the symphony orchestra, it is only used in the largest ensembles, and even then it usually plays on its own or with sparse accompaniment because it is such a quiet instrument. Unlike its higher pitched siblings, the flute and the piccolo, the bass flute does not project very well. This makes it rarer in concert music despite its unique and, in my opinion, beautiful sound. This is another instrument I plan to write for more in the future. On a personal note, I have seen and heard the bass flute live, and it's gorgeous. Go listen to some bass flute solos after this video. And now, our final instrument. Instrument 5, the 5-string double bass. Now, you might be saying to yourself, double bass? Isn't that a core member of the orchestra? Synth? Don't you play this one? Yes, it very much is, and yes, I do play it. But when you picture this instrument, chances are you picture one with 4 strings tuned E, A, D, G. This works most of the time, but many times we are playing in octaves with the cellos who tune their strings to the pitches C, G, D, A. When the combined low strings part descends below a written E, the double basses can no longer play in octaves, and we have to jump to the same octave as the cellos or omit the notes entirely. That's if we have a 4-string instrument. There are a few ways to solve this problem. The first, common in the US, is to add an extension to the bass, which you can see here on my own double bass. You could also tune your bass like a cello but an octave lower, which only works if you have a smaller instrument as the hand positions are wide if tuned this way. Enter the 5-string double bass. How fitting for it to be instrument number 5 on this list. This instrument is just like a double bass but with more string. Since we're talking about the orchestra, I'll only be talking about how this 5th string helps us orchestral bassists do our thing better. What we do is tune this new string to a low B, the same pitch as the B at the bottom of the grand piano keyboard. Although the low B isn't really used on its own, it helps us keep the same fingerings across the instrument so we don't have to do mental gymnastics while also doing the actual gymnastics of playing this beast. The 5th string allows us to play all the notes with relative ease, and having used one before, it's really more fun than the extension. This is the preferred method of expanding the double bass's range in other parts of the world besides the US, and is also the one I now prefer. That said, many bassists only play a 4-string model, and these 5-string models are generally reserved for professionals because of their price points, which is why you may not have heard of this thing. Conclusion. So that's it for this one. I hope you enjoy exploring some lesser known instruments here with me. If you like this, make sure you subscribe to the Nerdfighteria Discord YouTube channel for more videos from our members. Check out the links in the doobly-doo to join this project if you're interested, and I hope to chat with you in the server. I've been Symph, you're still you, thanks for watching, DFTBA.